She's out of there. Pop star Rihanna is understandably freaked out. A woman was charged with attempted murder after cops say she shot at Rihanna's Beverly Hills mansion.
Shooting just occurred. Approximately 10 shots heard.
Rihanna's alleged shooter reportedly had a warning sent straight to her own husband the day before shots hit that gate. And according to new claims, he said nothing and did nothing. Now the man she was married to has finally spoken, and what he revealed has the internet asking one question: who really knew what might happen? At first, people thought the case was simple. An obsessed fan, someone unstable, open and shut. That was the version people believed. That was the headline people saw. Reports described a troubled woman who allegedly lost control, drove across the country, and fired at the home of one of the most famous women in the world. Sad, scary, over. Except now, it may not be over. The estranged husband of the suspect, Ivana Ortiz, has filed court documents, and inside them is an email he says he received weeks before the incident, a direct message that is now raising serious questions and changing how people look at the situation. Now the focus is shifting. It is not just about one woman and her reported mental state. People are asking what those around her may have seen, what warnings may have existed, and why she was still working, raising her child, and moving freely while reportedly dealing with serious personal issues. The whole story is starting to crack open, and the details deserve a closer look. Piece by piece, this case is raising bigger questions than people first thought. According to the court filing, Ivana Ortiz allegedly sent her estranged husband, Jed Valdez, an email on January 26th. And the wording is what has people stuck on this part. The message reportedly said, "I need you to renounce Rihanna and confess that I'm better than her. Let it be done. You gotta let me know so that door can be closed." Read that carefully. Renounce Rihanna. Confess that I am better than her. Let it be done. That does not read like somebody casually blowing off steam. It reads like a demand. It sounds like somebody forcing a choice and making the situation deeply personal.
Listen, Rihanna, when you die, God is taking me to my future.
Now here is where the pressure really builds. According to his account, he says he learned about the shooting the next day, after it had already happened, when calls started coming in and news outlets began reaching out for comment. To be clear, nobody is accusing him of being involved, but people online are asking a question they see as fair. If you got an email like that from someone you were married to, someone you share a child with, would that not set off alarms? Would you not tell somebody? Would you not think something felt wrong? That is why this part of the case is getting so much attention now. And this is where the story gets more complicated. Because according to what people have been pointing out online, that email may not have been the only warning sign. If you look at what was publicly available about Ivana Ortiz before this incident, many are now saying there were clues scattered across the internet. Online users have been digging through old posts, trying to piece together a timeline. They point to tweets, social media updates, and even YouTube videos described as ministry or gospel-style content, where some viewers claim the tone appeared to change over time. People have been saving screenshots, archiving pages, and trying to track when certain posts appeared. From their point of view, this does not look like something that happened suddenly. Instead, some believe it shows a person who may have been struggling for weeks or even months in ways that were visible on public platforms. And that is why one question keeps coming up again and again in comment sections and discussions. How did nobody step in? Reports say she had a job as a speech therapist. She was raising her child, or at least the child was living with her. She had family, co-workers, and people in her daily life. So people are now wondering if anyone noticed changes in her behavior or saw something that made them concerned. Of course, those questions do not automatically mean someone else is responsible. But online discussions keep circling the same idea. If messages like the one described were being sent privately, some believe it is possible others may also have seen signs that something was not right. That is how situations like this are often described. When someone is struggling or going through a serious personal crisis, it usually does not stay contained to just one conversation. Sometimes there are signs. Sometimes there are attempts to reach out. Sometimes there are changes people only recognize later.
There were a total of 10 people present when that shooting occurred. Yeah, as far as motive, we haven't established that yet.
And that is why some online discussions are now questioning whether anything might have been missed by people around her. Another detail getting a lot of attention online might sound small at first, but it has become a major talking point. The braids. It may seem minor, but many people have focused on it because of what they believe it could suggest. When she was identified, some people noticed she appeared to be wearing box braids. For many, that stood out because that hairstyle usually takes hours to complete and normally involves planning ahead rather than a last-minute decision. Some online theories suggest that detail could point to preparation. People often get styles like that before long trips or major life events because they are easier to maintain. Based on that thinking, some commentators have speculated she may have wanted to look presentable for court appearances or public attention that could follow. Others have suggested it could have been a wig instead. That possibility has also been part of the discussion. Even then, some people argue that appearance choices can still involve planning and intention. At the same time, it is important to note that these are online interpretations, not confirmed facts about motive or state of mind. Personal appearance alone cannot explain someone's intentions or mental health. Still, these kinds of details are part of why the conversation around this case keeps growing, as people try to understand whether this was impulsive behavior or something more planned, even if those answers are not clear yet. Now the conversation turns to motive, because this is where people feel the situation becomes both clearer and more confusing at the same time. Based on reports, Ivana Ortiz was described as a speech therapist living in Florida. She had a child. She was separated from her husband. From the outside, it looked like she was living a stable, everyday life, working, parenting, handling responsibilities. But according to what has been discussed in reports and filings, there may have been personal struggles beneath that surface. The reported email to her husband suggests that Rihanna was not just a celebrity to her, but someone she may have viewed through a very personal lens. According to that message, Rihanna may have become a comparison point she used when thinking about her own life and relationships.
You saw Rihanna? You saw her picture? She has a very big forehead and an ugly, ugly nose.
The line, "confess that I'm better than her," is the part many people keep coming back to. Some observers interpret that as someone possibly comparing themselves to a global celebrity in a deeply personal way, not just as a fan or critic, but as someone who may have felt emotionally affected by that comparison. The mention of her husband has also added another layer of questions in online discussions. Some people have wondered why Rihanna's name would come up in the context of their relationship at all. There is no confirmed answer to that, and there is no indication of wrongdoing by him. But people remain curious about whether casual conversations, music preferences, or repeated mentions could have taken on a larger meaning in her mind. Mental health experts often say that intense fixations can sometimes grow gradually, shaped by personal experiences and perceptions. That does not mean there is always a single cause. Sometimes it is a mix of stress, personal struggles, and internal comparisons that build over time. Right now, many of these questions remain unanswered, and much of the discussion remains based on interpretation rather than confirmed facts. While all of this was reportedly developing, what makes the situation more unsettling to many observers is what else was happening at the same time. According to reports, she was still going to work, still raising her child, still active on social media, still uploading YouTube content, still communicating with people in her life. From the outside, everything appeared normal. That contrast is what many people online keep focusing on.
The LAPD has identified the shooting suspect as 35-year-old Ivana Lisette Ortiz from Florida.
There is a common belief that when someone is heading toward a serious crisis, the warning signs should be obvious. Clear behavior changes, visible distress, systems or people stepping in. But according to what has been discussed so far, there was no clear intervention before the incident. Then there are the logistics, which is where many say the story becomes even harder to understand. Reports say she lived in Florida while the shooting happened in Los Angeles. That would mean significant travel across the country. Air travel, airports, security checks, transportation, places to stay. Each step involves planning and coordination. These details have led many online to question how someone described as being in a mental health crisis could still manage complex travel arrangements. There are also ongoing questions about the weapon reportedly used. Where it came from, how it was obtained, and when it was acquired are all questions people continue to raise. Some discussions focus on whether it was obtained before travel or afterward. Others point out that firearm laws vary by state, which has added more speculation, even though many of these details have not been officially confirmed. Another question that continues to come up involves her child. If she did travel across the country, people are wondering who was caring for the child during that time, whether childcare was arranged, whether work leave was requested, or what explanation may have been given for the trip are all part of the broader public discussion. For many following the case, these details point toward preparation rather than a completely impulsive act. At the same time, investigators typically look at the full picture before drawing conclusions, and many of these public questions remain unanswered. The internet keeps pointing to what it sees as contradictions, and people are not moving on from them. Another detail getting attention comes from what has been described in police information about the vehicle. Reports mention tinted windows and a paper license plate. Online discussions have focused on that because temporary plates are sometimes associated with recently purchased or rented vehicles. But some people are interpreting it as an attempt to make identification harder.
My first thought was, really? Because, again, given the neighborhood, you don't usually expect for there to be drive-by shootings in a place like this.
There is also discussion about reports describing the vehicle's undercarriage as dirty. Some online commentators have speculated that could suggest travel on unpaved roads. From there, theories have grown about whether someone may have tried to avoid main roads or surveillance cameras. None of that has been confirmed as motive, but it shows how closely people are examining every small detail. Individually, each of these details could have ordinary explanations. Together, however, some people online believe they suggest planning rather than purely impulsive behavior. That interpretation remains part of public debate rather than an official conclusion. Another point that has drawn attention involves early police dispatch information that mentioned a possible passenger. According to those early reports, there may have been a man in the passenger seat who was also involved. If that information proves accurate, it would suggest more than one person may have been present. That possibility has led to a new set of questions online. People are asking whether that individual has been identified, whether investigators have addressed that detail, and whether more information will be released. So far, much of that remains unclear in public reporting, which is why speculation continues. But beyond all the timelines, theories, and unanswered questions, there is also the human side of what happened. Reports say Rihanna was home. Their children were reportedly home. That includes a very young baby who depended completely on the safety of that home environment. When violence reaches a place that is supposed to feel protected and private, that reality tends to affect how people process the entire situation. That part of the story is what many people keep coming back to.
You saw Rihanna? I keep telling her to stop harassing me.
Beyond the investigation details and online analysis, it is the reminder of how many lives can be affected when something like this happens. Police sources have reportedly described the outcome as a miracle that Rihanna and Rocky were not harmed. That is the word some reports say was used. Not simply fortunate, not just lucky, a miracle. Investigators also reportedly examined bullet impacts on the property, and that is another detail that has drawn intense discussion online. Some people analyzing news footage have pointed to what they believe look like grouped impact patterns. A few online commentators with firearms experience have suggested that tighter groupings can sometimes indicate controlled firing rather than random shots. However, these interpretations are coming from public discussion, not official forensic conclusions, and the exact findings would ultimately come from investigators. What is clear is that the structure reportedly struck included an Airstream-style trailer. That type of structure is not designed like a fortified building. It is typically a lightweight space meant for comfort and privacy. The idea that gunfire reached a place like that is part of why this story has affected so many people following it. Many are also thinking about the children who were reportedly on the property. Even if they were not in the immediate area, the fact that something like this could happen near where they live is something people naturally react to. Events like this can have lasting emotional impacts on families, especially when they become public stories. There is also discussion about the suspect's own child. Reports have suggested the child may have learned about the situation through other students at school after the story became public. That detail has stood out to many people because it shows how quickly major news spreads and how difficult it can be for families to manage that exposure. According to what has been described, the father reportedly tried to shield the child from the news at first. But in a time when information moves instantly through phones and social media, that can be very difficult. Instead of learning through a careful conversation at home, reports suggest the child may have first heard about it from classmates, which adds another human layer to an already complex situation.
We intend to convict Ms. Ortiz of all the charges which have been leveled at this point beyond a reasonable.
That is the part many people keep coming back to. The children connected to this situation did not choose any of it, and yet they may still feel the effects of it. When situations like this happen, the impact often spreads far beyond the people directly involved. It becomes something families have to carry, sometimes for years. Some online discussions have framed this as an example of how missed warning signs can have real consequences. Questions about whether anything could have been noticed earlier continue to come up. At the same time, those questions remain part of public debate rather than established fact, and investigations typically look closely at those timelines before drawing conclusions. There are also ongoing conversations about details that some people feel do not fully line up. Reports have described the suspect's vehicle as a Tesla with tinted windows and temporary plates. Some commentators have also mentioned descriptions of the vehicle appearing dirty underneath, which they interpret as suggesting long-distance travel. These are details being discussed publicly, although their exact significance is still unclear. Some online discussions have also mentioned the idea that certain vehicle data can sometimes be accessed by law enforcement during investigations. However, exactly what information was available in this specific case, and when, has not been fully confirmed in public reporting. Because of that, many of the timelines circulating online remain speculative. There has also been continued discussion about early reports mentioning a possible second person. Some people online have tried to analyze helicopter footage and still images, suggesting they see more than one figure. Others have compared appearances or made estimates based on images circulating online. None of those online analyses are official findings, but they do show how closely people are examining every available detail. All of this has also led to broader conversations about how the justice system responds in situations like this, especially when it comes to issues like bail, public safety concerns, and mental health considerations. Those questions tend to come up whenever a high-profile case raises uncertainty, and they are likely to remain part of the conversation as more verified information becomes available. Reports say bail in the case was set at about $1.8 million. That sounds like a huge number at first, but many people familiar with the system point out that bail often involves paying a percentage through a bond. Online discussions quickly started doing rough estimates, suggesting that could mean a much smaller upfront amount depending on the circumstances. That possibility is part of why the decision has sparked so much debate online. Another point getting attention is the reported assessment that she was not considered an ongoing public safety risk at that stage of the process. Some social media users have reacted strongly to that idea, comparing it to other cases where people remained in custody over less serious allegations. Those comparisons reflect public frustration, though every case involves different legal factors and judicial decisions. At the same time, members of her family have reportedly said they believe she needs mental health support and have described changes in her behavior after a past accident. Some people hear those statements as concern from loved ones. Others question whether it could influence legal outcomes. Those different reactions show how divided public opinion can become during cases like this. There is also discussion about what could happen if mental health evaluations become part of the legal process. In some cases, treatment facilities can be part of the outcome instead of traditional incarceration, depending on legal findings and medical assessments. Those possibilities are part of why people continue to watch how the case develops. Beyond the specific incident, many commentators are using this situation to talk about a broader issue: how intense celebrity focus, personal struggles, and access to information can sometimes intersect in troubling ways. Today, public figures are more visible than ever. Information about locations, appearances, and daily routines can sometimes be pieced together online, which has changed how conversations about privacy and safety happen. This has also sparked bigger questions about responsibility. When someone shows signs of distress, people often ask, who is in the best position to step in? Is it solely the individual? Is it the people closest to them? Is it support systems like healthcare providers? These are difficult questions without simple answers, but they are part of the larger discussion this case has brought forward. Some online conversations have even questioned police response times, asking why a vehicle was reportedly monitored instead of stopped immediately. Without full official timelines, those discussions remain speculation, but they show how closely people are examining every part of what happened. For public figures, situations like this also highlight a reality that comes with fame. The more visible someone becomes, the more attention they attract, not just from supporters, but sometimes from people who form very personal or unrealistic connections to them. Most of that attention never turns into real-world danger, but high-profile incidents remind people that it only takes one situation to change everything. So where does that leave things now? There is a suspect who allegedly traveled across states, armed herself, and is accused of opening fire. There is a husband who says he received concerning messages weeks earlier. There is a family describing someone they believe needed help. There are investigative details that people feel are still incomplete. And there is a global celebrity whose home reportedly became the scene of a terrifying event. Different people are drawing very different conclusions. Some believe it could point to a targeted act. Others believe it reflects someone in serious psychological distress who did not receive intervention in time. Both possibilities raise serious concerns in very different ways. If it were a coordinated act, people question how someone could allegedly get close to such a high-profile target. If it were untreated mental illness, others ask what that says about how warning signs are recognized and addressed. Either way, the unanswered questions are what continue to drive discussion. Among the biggest questions people continue to raise are what exactly was communicated before the incident, whether anyone else was involved, how the weapon was obtained, and what the full timeline of events shows. Until investigators release more confirmed details, public conversation will likely continue to fill those gaps with theories and debate. For many people watching this story, one detail that keeps coming up in discussion is the reported timeline involving the Tesla. Some online voices have questioned why the vehicle was reportedly observed for a period of time instead of being stopped immediately. Without full official reports, those conversations remain speculation, but they show how closely people are examining every second of what happened. For anyone chasing fame or building a name online, situations like this are also a reminder of something serious. The bigger your platform gets, the more attention comes with it. Not just support and praise, but sometimes people who build personal stories around someone they have never met. Most of that never turns into real danger, but it only takes one situation to change everything. So where does that leave this case right now? There is a suspect accused of traveling across the country, obtaining a weapon, and carrying out an attack. There is a husband who says he received concerning messages beforehand. There is a family saying she needed help. There are police details that people feel still need clarification, including early mentions of a possible second person. There is also a global superstar whose home reportedly became the scene of something no family ever expects to face. Some people believe this could point to something carefully planned. Others believe this could be the result of someone experiencing serious mental health struggles without enough support. Both possibilities raise difficult questions. If it was planned, people ask how something like this could be organized. If it was untreated mental health issues, others ask how warning signs might be better recognized before something goes wrong. There are still major questions people keep asking. What exactly was said in the messages before the incident? Was anyone else involved? Where did the weapon come from? What does the full investigation timeline show? Until more confirmed answers come out, people will keep debating and forming their own conclusions. Now I want to hear what you think. Do you believe this was the actions of one individual in a personal crisis? Or do you think there are still missing pieces that have not come to light yet? Share your perspective and keep the conversation respectful. If you want more breakdowns like this, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss any updates as new details come out. Every development in this case is being followed closely, and there is still a lot people are waiting to learn. Stay aware, stay informed, and take care of the people around you. And remember, the internet often shows only part of the picture. Sometimes what matters most are the details people do not immediately see. See you in the next video.